Hi, welcome to Community Focus. We're shooting at City Hall today with the sign behind us here, the city seal, and a special guest, Mayor Dennis Tyler. Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Hi, Roger. Good to see you
Good
again.
to see you. And we wanted to get an update of what's going on with the city because things are happening so fast it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, we got a lot of great things going on everywhere. The Village Promenade, the student housing just opened last week in the village. A lot of excitement and growth going on in that area. New sidewalks going in around it on both sides of the street on University and completely around the block. Preparing for the Martin and University, Martin Street down to White River, completely being rebuilt. The Dick's Sporting Goods, is right on track to be open in October.
I see their sign.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's cool. It's that's going to be an anchor, I think, from people coming all over East Central Indiana to shop at Muncie shops, and that's going to be great heading into the holiday season. Michael's is right on track, ready to be opened. The Brothers Restaurant Grill in the village is right on track for its opening date. Cleo's just reopened back out in the village.
I've seen a Firehouse Subs.
Firehouse Subs is going out on East McGalliard. Yeah, real excited about that. They use a lot of local fire history memorabilia in the restaurants. Yeah,
and you're into that?
Good. Yeah, I am, and I've got some memorabilia I think that they would like to post on their walls. So that's really exciting. Preparing right now the bonds for the parking garage and the Quiet Zone Initiative and some other development downtown. Working on the streetscape project for downtown. The CSO project is underway from White River back down to where the new hotel will eventually be.
Now tell people what CSO is.
That's a sewer separation project, and it's all mandated and governed by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and it's something that the city of Muncie is mandated to do, and they're doing it, and I think they're doing it in the right way. They're doing the separation and that they need underground, but what I really appreciate what they're doing is some of the things that they're doing above ground, and that's better quality of place and quality of life initiatives, watersheds, walking trails, natural habitats. The area there at White River where that will be running out into White River. We'll have a canal walk attaching to that, and we hope in the next couple years, if everything goes right, that we'll have a beautiful pedestrian bridge going across White River there. That will be a connector from the downtown to the Toohey Park, and then right on from Toohey Park right over into University. But if you look all over Muncie right now, there's all sorts of construction going on. We've got construction going on downtown.
I know, I have to go around some.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's going on everywhere. And as soon as the hotel and the parking garage starts downtown, we'll have 400 or 500 more local people working downtown. It takes an adjustment. People should plan for a little bit more time driving and commuting through the downtown, but once it's all done, we're going to be a much better community for it, and we will get the stoplights resynchronized. Yeah.
I know I've heard people talk about that, but and I know you're working on that. Yeah. But having come from a construction background, I know there for many a year there was no construction going on in Muncie, paving a street once in a while, but and I worked in communities where there was a lot of things going on. It's good to see that here because everybody that worked in construction and building trades had to drive half hour, hour and a half to go to work, and now they're working right here in town.
They're going to be working right here. The parking garage and the hotel, darn near 100% of that work is going to be signatory to Muncie and Delaware County employees.
Good.
And that's probably the first time that's happened in 25 or 30 years.
It's been a while.
And the good part about that is that it's our money anyway. We'll be keeping our money here, which means it'll be our local people working, our local people spending their money right here in our community. And because of that, at the end of the day, we're all going to be much better because of it. And it's very good, exciting times to be a part of Muncie and to see all the growth that's going on. There's not a day that goes by, Roger, that somebody isn't contacting our office that would like to talk about opportunities for economic development in Muncie. And anybody that's been around here for a while can tell you just a few short years ago that wasn't the case.
Right. Well, you know, having grown up in north of farmland out in the country, Muncie.
I didn't know you was a farm boy.
Yeah, I was a farm boy. Grew up on a little farm.
I didn't know that.
And I miss it. But yeah, I love that. Wouldn't trade that for $1 million. Well, maybe. But
yeah, maybe $1 million.
Maybe $1 million.
Yeah.
I can buy my own farm.
There you go, yeah.
But no, Muncie was always the hub of, you know, a lot of people come to work in Muncie. And certainly a lot of people come to shop and recreate in Muncie. Randolph County, Jay County, you know, all the surrounding areas came to Muncie to do their shopping, and it's we're getting more and more things here. Dick's moving in, and some of these other retail stores and things that you have going on. A certain draw.
Well, there is, Roger, you know, and there was a time when Muncie was the shopping mecca of East Central Indiana. Then there became a time that there wasn't. People was driving right around Muncie in this area and heading right on over to 69 and right on down into the Hamilton County area and on down. And I've had people question me on using economic development dollars for the Dick's Sporting Goods project out there by the mall. But you know, just stop and think about this, Roger. How many people you think from East Central Indiana drive through Muncie to go to Dick's down in Hamilton County? A lot of them. So why wouldn't we want that Dick's, as well as everything else that's going on there, the Michaels and the McAllisters and those other retail shops, if they can be the anchor for us to attract that entire East Central Indiana shopping population, even if we only pick up 15 to 20, 25% more of those shoppers, that's millions of dollars worth of retail spending going on in our community. And at the end of the day, that means we're going to have more dollars to get things done in our community and put back in our community and invest and reinvest in our community.
And they're probably going to go down the street and eat.
And they're probably going to go down the street and eat. They always do. I mean, you probably do the very same thing. If you're going to go down and shop for fishing gear or hunting gear or whatever it is, when you get done, you're probably going to go grab a sandwich someplace, or you're going to go grab that sandwich before you do that. Well, we're going to have the same opportunity out there to do the same thing, you know. And we've got to be able to use our imagination and think outside the box, how to bring resources into our community. I just listened to Senator Dan Colts earlier today that was in town. The question that I posed to him was transportation funding back to locals for infrastructure repair. And his thoughts on it. And his thoughts were pretty legitimate that the way things are in Washington right now and the income levels that they're dealing with there's probably not going to be a lot of money for transportation funding back to the locals. So we've got to find ways to do that ourselves. You know, we're on schedule to pave 25 to 27, maybe even more miles than that this year. We may be looking at an idea to dramatically increase the paving mileage next year. Remains to be seen on what the General Assembly does or doesn't do this upcoming session, but if nothing changes, I think that we'll have some ways that we can dramatically increase our paving next year and get a lot more done. But yeah, so we've got to think outside the box, and the best way to maximize every single dollar that we bring into our community, and I think we're doing that. And you know, the public-private partnerships that we've created throughout the city in all corners of the city for development are working. Probably 80% of the development that we've got going on right now is private dollars investment. And I think that's a pretty good bang for your buck when we're up to well over $200 million. And it is going to dramatically increase. You know, the $60 million project at the Village Promenade, Roger, they estimate in 5 to 6 years that could turn into $240 million worth of new investment out in that area. Well, you know, it's awfully hard to put a figure on that when you're trying to put together these economic development packages, you know. And when they work, you're a genius. when they don't work, you're not such a genius.
You're kind of like the guy that kicks the football.
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Yeah, and you're hoping you kick it the right way. Yeah. But I don't think there's anybody for 1 second that doubts that this new hotel coming into downtown Muncie, particularly with a training center for people with disabilities, a first-class restaurant, a first-class parking garage attached to it, and everything else that we're doing in the downtown, that is eventually going to branch out much farther out into our community than just in the downtown area. And I think everybody appreciates that and knows that at the end of the day, that's a tremendous investment for our community to make.
I heard you say this just last week, and investing in yourself, investing in the community.
Sure.
That really hasn't been done a lot lately.
Sure.
And now your administration is investing money, economic development funds, getting bonds to better the infrastructure, making more improvements on the community.
Sure.
And I've heard you say that is kind of shining a way to say, hey, we're here, we're a viable community.
Yeah.
Be a part of this.
Sure.
Instead of sending out the SOS,
Sure.
we're sinking.
Sure.
And
It's no different. It's no different than what you would do for your own home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to the bank, say you want to refinance your home, you got a better interest rate. First thing they're going to do is they're going to come out and they're going to appraise your home. They're going to look at what you've done at that home over the last 15 or 20 years that you've owned it. Have you invested in it and reinvested in it to make it a worthwhile investment for the bank to refinance it for you? Government isn't any different. You can argue about how you do it all day long, but the truth of the matter is, and this is one of the things that I focused on as quickly as I could when I first took office, how do I bring everybody together to create the right atmosphere for public-private partnerships that we can improve quality of place and quality of life, investing in ourselves so people outside our community are seeing that we're stepping up to the plate. We're making a better quality of life for all of our citizens. We're making a better quality of place for all of our citizens. You're welcome here. If you want to bring your dollars here, we'll work with you on the best way for you to maximize your investment, and we maximize our investment in ourselves. And it's working. Dick's Sporting Goods is a great example. In 2012, they weren't interested in Muncie. Yeah, now here they are. They're going to be an anchor for us. We literally have local investors that have major restaurant franchises in their pockets, waiting to see how Muncie is going to improve their quality of place and quality of life to make it worthwhile for them to use those franchises here. And I think with everything that we're doing, you're going to see that. I don't know if anybody could have imagined 5 years ago that there'd be a $60 million investment in the village, because 5 or 6 years ago that village was absolutely falling apart. And anybody that drove down through there would tell you that. Well, we have $60 million worth of new development going in there, with millions and millions more dollars being invested into retail shops that are going in around it. All of that's going to turn that entire area into a better quality of place and quality of life. And we're doing it on the south side of Muncie with the Madison Street being rebuilt next year. That will come from one end of town to the other. That's going to be a better quality of place and quality of life. Just today, the major rain that we had, Madison Street's flooding again.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Well, all of this rebuilding next year, we think with the way that we're going to be rebuilding that and how we're going to be rebuilding that and working in partnership with the sanitary district, we're going to be able to eliminate that flooding.
That's good.
That's great.
That's a good
That's
thing.
great. Yeah.
Well, Madison Street and that whole area on the south side has needed some infrastructure work for quite some time.
It has, and I never really could quite understand why. It made very good sense to me, the South Side Community Development Group wanting new design and development standards on Madison Street. All of that made sense to me. That was the first major street in the city of Muncie to have those types of standards, but we didn't do anything with the street. We left the street a shambles, and that just never made much sense to me. I mean, you would think that if you was going to implement those types of standards, that you would try to do something at the same time with the street and sidewalks to where investors and developers would want to take a look at it. Well, I think that when Madison Street is redeveloped with new sidewalks and pavement next year, that you'll see major investment and development going on out there.
I bet you do.
Yeah,
Because I was just
I'm betting on
thinking, if that was redone and fixed up, there would be more franchises
Sure.
pop up.
Sure. And what we're trying to do is calm the traffic by the way that we're going to rebuild Madison Street and the sidewalks. We want to calm the traffic. Calm traffic is what drives development. That's what you can walk without any issues with vehicles, or people can ride bicycles if they want to, if they have a wheelchair, whatever it is, that everybody can share the space and you have a nice, calm traffic flow. That's what developers want to see, and that's what we'll see on Madison Street when we're done with it next year. Same thing we're doing with the downtown with the streetscape. All of that is going to be in much better compliance with the American Disabilities Act when we're all done with it. And the way that we're redeveloping all of that and rebuilding it, I believe that when we're done, it's just not going to be Walnut Street that you're going to see development on. You're going to see it on Elm, Jefferson, Mulberry, High, Franklin, Liberty, and out from there.
You think with this development there, some of the people that live in that neighborhood would take a little more pride anywhere you do development?
Sure.
I think what I have seen in the past, that I'm hoping it happens all over, people that live in those neighborhoods take a little more pride in their neighborhood.
Sure, and sure. You always hope that happens. Does it always happen? No, but sometimes it does. I know last year when we had a major Clean and Beautiful program for a couple weeks where we brought in some part-time people and partnered with Jason Donetti and the Parks Department, the Street Department, and went out and did some major cleanings around some of the medians and different things. The guys and gals that was out there told me that coming back a couple of days later, they saw people out there cleaning the weeds and that out around from their sidewalks and curbs too.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
You know, just like Coach Limbo said at the city council meeting last month, you know, sometimes you gotta make yourself look good to begin to feel good.
Right.
And I happen to believe that. I can remember my dad telling me when I was a kid, if you're gonna go out and talk to people and meet people, you make sure your shoes are shined.
That's good advice.
That's right, yeah, you know, because if people look down and your shoes aren't shined and you're not clean, they're not going to think nearly as much of you. But he said, you know, if your shoes are cleaned and shining and you're spick and span from head to toe, you're going to make a much better impression. And that's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. We're trying to make a better impression of Muncie for people to want to be a part of Muncie. You know, in talking to our foundations and other private partners, you know, looking at some of our key entryways coming into our community, I think we have a great opportunity to partner with a lot of organizations in Muncie, public sector, private sector, and NDOT, to capturing some of the properties we need to really do some fantastic, neat things on some of our key entryways coming into our community that will look much better because of it. You know, if you're an investor coming in, that the chamber's bringing in, or whoever it is bringing them in, if we're bringing them in, the first impression they see is going to be our entryways. Why wouldn't we want them to be as beautiful as we could possibly make them? And if NDOT is willing to work with us and give us the land to do that, and we assume the responsibility of what we're planning, how we're planning it, and maintaining it, and we can beautify those entranceways, golly, why wouldn't we do it?
And you also just received $2.88 million for
Hardest Hit Fund.
Hardest Hit Fund. You want to tell us about that?
I can tell you what I know about it. I believe we submitted that on 154 properties, and it's a program that I believe it gives us 18 months to have end uses for all of those properties. I think, according to Dr. Bailey, with community development and Chris Allen and Aaron Kidder, all of the details are still being worked out on how you move these properties to an end use. And once all those details are worked out and they send all of that information down to us, then that's when we'll get our money, and that's when the clock starts ticking. What I'm very proud of with our administration is we received the largest distribution of funds in our district.
And that took some, I trust, some good work from people that was working on it.
Some tremendous hard work from our neighborhood investment committee. That is a group of volunteers and people in my administration working extremely hard day and night and weekends putting this application together. And there was many applications in our district, Roger. And for Muncie to walk away with the largest,
we got our lion's share. Huh?
We got our lion's share. And there may be some money left. And if there is, we'll probably be going after it too, because we think that what we're doing with our neighborhood investment committee and our urban revitalization program, that over the next year to 18 months, you're going to see a much different Muncie. You're going to see pocket parks, you're going to see pocket gardens, you're going to see urban gardens, the possibility of orchards, and things that we just would have never imagined just a few years ago.
You mentioned Coach Limbaugh and the billboard.
Yeah.
And banners that went up with you and the coach on there. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, that was pretty cool how that all transpired. It's Coach Limbaugh and I had lunch with Judd Fisher one day, and we was talking about ways to move the community and ways that we could do things, and coaches, student athletes are really involved in our community, and we were just talking about how much we appreciated that and what we could do to partner to get some things done, and all of this was going on at the same time, and all of the issues were going on with Muncie Community Schools and some of the negative debate going on back and forth, and you know, my dream's always been, as I've grown up, Roger, is to break that divide between White River and that side of town and the underpass and that side of town, and bring Muncie together. And Coach and I were just sitting there talking with Judd, and you know, and we started talking about one team, one mission, and from the first night that the Muncie Community Schools decided to consolidate, you know, we immediately had it on all of our social media for the city of Muncie. Time one Muncie, you know, one Muncie. Well, we just sit there and talked about it and said, let's put something together and do it, and that's what we ended up doing, and I got a kick out of it because I got a Ball State polo shirt out of it. I got a Ball State football that he signed. He was very honored because he was holding the Arc of Indiana's Lifetime Achievement Award that was presented to me a couple years ago for my work in assisting people with disabilities while I was in the General Assembly and now as mayor. So that was quite an honor for me to receive that, and he was very honored to be able to hold it and have his picture taken with it. But it's just, again, it's trying to show, here's Ball State University that everybody knows for years thought there was a disconnect between the city of Muncie. Everybody from Muncie thought there was a disconnect with Ball State. Everybody in Ball State thought there was a disconnect with Muncie.
Town versus gown.
Town versus gown. Here's all this going on with Muncie Community Schools. How can we tie all this together and say, yeah, well, you know, this is the way it used to be, but here's the way it's going to be from today going forward. And we're all going to do whatever we can to bring this community together in a way to show people that we are a great community. We all know we're a great community. One of the problems we've always had is we haven't talked very well about it outside the city, outside the county, and outside the state. And that's what we've been working very hard to do is show people that we're willing to invest in ourselves, we're getting along, we're doing all the right things. Now, if you want to be a part of something very successful and something that you can pride yourself in, come take a look at Muncie.
There's a lot of things going on in Muncie, and right now, I know it's about a year ago, I think we done a little segment, and you was telling me there was $100 million plus of work going on in Muncie projects.
More than that now.
Probably.
Yeah,
So,
much more than that now.
how much do you think there is now?
Oh, golly, if I'd known you was gonna ask me that question, I'd have probably sit down and did it, but we're just getting around. Again, we got the $60 million project going on out there at Village Promenade. We got a multi-million-dollar project going on there at Dick's. Here in the very short future, we got that entire new living development starting out at the Memorial in Tillotson. We got all of this work going on downtown. Everything's going to be going on, kicking off hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days downtown with the garage, the hotel. That's another 40 million. So, we're probably going to be up to over $200 million. And just 4 or 5 years ago, there wasn't any type of investment like that going on in Muncie. And I think you're going to see much more, much more. I think as all of this moves forward, I think that we'll see additional dollars coming in through public-private partnerships.
And things are going fast. I mean,
Yeah.
last fall, I was out there at the Village
Mhm.
taking pictures,
Mhm.
and they was, scraping off the ground and everything, and now you go
Yeah.
out there and there's these
Oh, there it is,
buildings.
yeah. Well, Dr. Bruce Frankel, a professor out of Ball State, had some students up in my office the other day. And that was one of the things that he was talking about, was how quickly things have moved in 2.5 years. Actually a little bit more than 2.5 years now. And the impression kind of I think maybe we're moving too fast. And my answer is, I don't think we're moving fast enough. Because I think the faster we move, the more good publicity we get out of it. The more good publicity we get out of it, the more contacts we get out of it. The more contacts we get out of it, the more public-private partnerships we have wanting to look at Muncie. And am I working people to death around me? Probably. I have people in my administration, they are. I mean, they literally are working their fingers to the bone
But
for this community. But
I can honestly say, if I can interject this, I don't know any of the department heads that does not like what they're doing.
Yeah.
They love it. It's a labor of love, and I've never heard anybody complain.
And they have it, and I don't ask them to do something that I wouldn't do. And it's simply because I love Muncie. Muncie's been very good to my family and I. My children all went to Muncie schools. My grandchildren are going now, that are here, are going to Muncie schools, and Muncie has been great to my family and I, and I'm trying to give back with every bit of energy I have and every bit of vitality I have, and
I know you do. There's times I take you aside and tell you need to
slow
rest,
down.
slow
Yes,
down.
Yes, my wife will tell me that every now and then too, and my children do. But again, it's there's not a day that doesn't go by, Roger, that people aren't in our office with ideas.
Mhm.
And just yesterday, John Craddock and Phil Tevis and Bill Smith were in my office with a fantastic idea on a partnership for this pedestrian bridge across White River. Mm-hmm. And the longer we're all sitting there talking about this, it's just like putting a little puzzle together, a Rubik's Cube, all at once. It just starts coming together, and we're thinking, man, we do this, because one of the things that I asked him was, I don't want to wait 5, 6, or 7 years for federal dollars to get this done. If there's a way that we can put all this together, well, then we start talking. John with all of his experience, Phil with all of his, Aaron, my grant writer. And all at once we see a way that, we may have this done in a couple of years. And we have no more invested in it than what we would have if we'd have waited 6 or 7 years. So, and when we left the office everybody's excited. Phil and John, they're leaving to go start making the phone calls they need to talk to certain people to try and start convening meetings.
I was up there, I thought,
Yeah.
man, what kind of meeting did
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
have? You
Well,
had a
I mean,
party.
you know, and that's what we do. And then right after that meeting was over, my engineers are in there showing me the potential designs that they've got for Madison Street and starting that next year. You know, I mean, it's just,
When I see, and I have to say this, when I see some of the comments and things on social media, a lot of people have a lot more positive, lot better positive attitude about Muncie and their community than they've had in a while.
yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, that's what this is all about. Again, going back to Coach Limbo's comments, you got to look good to feel good, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think, you know, if you've lived in a neighborhood, Roger, that for 20 years or better, maybe the sidewalks were ignored and the streets were ignored, or you didn't get your streets plowed and cleared, when you begin to see that, my guess is you're going to start feeling a little bit better about your neighborhood, and then the community, the city that's providing those services to you. And that's what we're trying to do. And then getting people to buy into the investment's worth it. The investment's worth it, you know. It's very easy, and just 2 weeks ago, matter of fact, 2 weeks ago today, I had the privilege of speaking along with Judd Fisher at the Ball State's Primacy of Place Awards at the Minnetrista Center, and there was 9 cities in the state of Indiana that were finalists for the awards, and all 9 of them had fantastic projects that they were finalists for. But what was really amazing to me, I believe about 7 of those cities were doing the same thing. Of all those, about 7 of those different projects were doing the same thing. So I'm sitting there thinking, next year, we're going to be one of the finalists. We're going to apply, we're going to be one of the finalists. But the reason I bring that up is, it was amazing afterwards, the mayors that was there coming up and talking to me of when they first started those projects, how there was people in their community that didn't want them to do it. Just didn't want them to do it, didn't want them to do anything.
Really?
Yeah, and that they were really, really grateful to hear me talk about how to turn the word no into a yes. And once you break that barrier, and you break that no barrier down to where your community is ready to say yes to investment and yes to quality of place, how you can begin to work together. And they said they really appreciated that because they all went through it.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know if it's apathy.
People don't like change.
That could be a lot of it. You know, that could be a lot of it. I mean, particularly if you're coming from a very old community that's very set in its ways, I could see that. But I don't know, probably each community would have to answer that for itself. I just think ours was that somehow, some way, there came a point in time that they just decided they weren't going to get along, you know, and look at Washington. I mean, look how broken it is.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing's getting done. And I would argue that that's the same thing that goes on at the local level. If people aren't working together, you know, I don't need to know what your politics are if you're wanting to do something positive for Muncie. And you don't need to know what mine are. You know, let's just sit down and figure it out and work it out. You know, I don't have a sign-in sheet when people come into my office. Are you Democrat, are you Republican, are you Libertarian, or, you know, what's your religion or anything? I don't really care. What I care about is, do you want to help Muncie become a better community, a more welcoming community for all of its citizens, and help us improve and invest in quality of place and quality of life? And slowly but surely, you'll see people starting to smile again. And once that happens, you see the entire culture start to change. You know, remember how everybody said when the night Muncie Community Schools voted to consolidate the high schools, and it's going to be a world war, it's going to be a civil war, and the community.
The world was coming to an end.
The world was coming to an end, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I was over there for opening day at Central. I couldn't tell a former Southside student from a Central High School student. They were all walking the hallways together and in the aisles. The juniors and seniors came in there for us to speak to. I couldn't tell which one was a Southside kid or a Central kid. So, yeah. We figured out a way, or the kids figured out a way on our behalf, thanks to a lot of people wanting to do it, to make it one Muncie. And I think it's taking a hold, and I think it's taking traction.
There again, I think that people are afraid of change. Now, I didn't go to Muncie schools. I did start out for a brief period of time at Eugene Fields.
Yeah. Well, I went to Eugene Fields.
Yeah. And matter of fact, I found a class picture from Eugene Fields.
Did you really?
My first grade. But when we moved out into the country, I started out for 2 years at Green Township Elementary School. Then it got condemned. Went to Parker for 2 years, and then they switched boundaries. Went to Farmland for 2 years, and then Monroe Central. So I got changed whether I wanted it or not. But you know what? I survived.
Sure.
I went to school.
Sure. Well, you know, and I know you've heard me say it before, but there was never any doubt in my mind the kids would work it out. If the adults would let the kids work it out. If the adults would come together to put together the ideas and the flexibility and the opportunity, the kids would figure out a way to make it work. Now, you know, a lot of people did a lot of great things over the summer, Roger, in putting together committees and that for all of this to begin to work. And I think one of the biggest, in my mind, one of the biggest initiatives in this entire process was the Ball Brothers Foundation stepping up and buying uniforms and instruments and that to help the bands come together.
A band.
They put together a band, that blew the socks off everybody.
Yes, they did.
And I'm telling you, it was
kudos.
It was just. But again, it was the Ball Brothers Foundation and him stepping up to do that. Ryan Kerrigan, what a guy. Same thing with the football team. He brought in whoever the manufacturer is and that is his sponsor for his football shoes. He brought them in, fitted every one of those kids.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that did a lot of things without a lot of spatial attention in that wanted this to really work, and it's working. It's working. And I think at the end of the day, I hope and I pray that our community is going to be much better because of it. And maybe, you know, maybe this is, and I brought this up when I spoke to the kids, maybe this is what breaks that barrier down at the underpass. Maybe this will break that barrier down. Because, you know, when I was a kid, I'm much older than you are.
Not a whole lot.
But when I was a kid, there wasn't any barrier to that underpass, man.
I never knew that.
There wasn't. I lived over on Lewick Avenue on the south side of Muncie. My newspaper route was Willard Street, 2 blocks north and south from Willard and Burlington to Willard and Walnut. There wasn't any barriers. There wasn't any underpass. Somehow, somewhere along the line, something happened that underpass became a barrier for this community. And I can tell you, I know it. It was in 2012 when I took office. Joanne Gore and I, who was the president of Ball State at that time, was preparing to do a radio show at Ball State radio station. And we're sitting there talking to those young students before we go on. And I asked one of those students what he thought about Muncie and that. And he said, you know, I really like Muncie. But he said, I'd love to go look at the south side of Muncie, but my professor told me you don't go past the underpass. Well, I bristled up over it. I mean, I did. I said, well, you know, why would he tell you that? I said, I grew up on that end of town. I said, those are great people out there, great kids, great community. there's nothing at that underpass. It's just an underpass. And he said, well, that's
Floods once in a while.
He said, and he says, well, that's what they told us.
Wow.
So,
Can you
yeah,
imagine?
well, just, maybe this will be the opportunity with what's happening right now today, that now in our lifetime, Roger, in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, that underpass won't even be a subject of conversation anymore. And wouldn't that be great?
That'd be great, because when I was growing up and, living outside of Muncie, but would come to Muncie with my parents to shop and do things, it was Muncie to me.
Yeah.
And we went to Kmart South, we went out there to Evie's on the south side of town, we went to Wells's on the north side of town.
Sure.
It was just one big town to
Absolutely.
me, a lot bigger
One
than
big town,
farmland.
yeah. I said this in my State of the City address in April. If we can break that barrier down at White River, and we can break that barrier down at the underpass, we're going to be a much better community because of it.
And you, speaking of students, and you've been a host to quite a few international
Oh,
students.
yeah, the international students.
And I know they get a big kick out of
Yeah.
coming up to the department head meetings, talking to you,
Yeah.
questions and answers, and I think you have taken in some from them. I know a lot of them said out of the places they go, like Washington and Chicago, they like Muncie because it's smaller, a little more laid back,
Yeah.
no traffic jams,
Yeah.
they get around well.
They get to come in and meet with the mayor
Yeah.
and exchange comments.
And in
that.
their countries, that was unheard of.
It
A lot
is, I'll never forget the students that were in here last year. I'll never, ever, ever forget the young girl's comments that was sitting right next to me. And we were going, questions and comments from everybody, and was probably getting pretty close to wrapping it up. And I could sense that she had something that she wanted to say. So I asked her, and she said, what's so special about this is if I was home in my country, if I was sitting in a room like this with somebody like you, you would be surrounded by people with guns. And we couldn't ask you the questions that we're asking you. The questions would be orchestrated. And I said, you're kidding me? And she said, no. And I thought, wow.
It's like that in a lot of places.
Yeah, and so little things that we just take for granted, that was just so special to her. And it really meant so much to me because, one, she had the opportunity to sit right next to me. She could reach out and touch me if she wanted to. I could reach out and touch her if I wanted to, but...
And nobody with AK-47.
And nobody with an AK-47, nobody questioning what she was questioning me on, just conversation. Just conversation between an older adult and a young woman.
I know, I remember when I'm wondering if you traveled around, if you had an entourage.
Yeah.
But we take for granted a lot of the freedoms and the casual protocols and things that we have here compared to a lot of countries.
Sure, we do, and this is the greatest country in the earth. I mean, we're just, I call us the caretaker of the world, and we are, and we have been, and we always will be, and we're a very giving country. Muncie's a very giving community. I mean, look at the Hearts and Hands United that you filmed a few weeks ago. The backpacks for school with all the supplies and
a lot of good comments
shoes
about
that. Yeah, but you see that all the time. At Christmas you'll see the same thing, and it's just what we do.
Yeah, we have in this community a lot of good, giving people.
Yes, we do.
The firefighters, I know you've been a part of that for a lot of years. The police departments, their Shop with the Cop, Toys for Tots, bicycle giveaways, the Hearts and Hands. I mean, this community reaches into its pocket and helps people
all
out.
the time. Big brothers, big sisters, the Meridian Services, the Rialzo, and what they do for people with mental health issues, and Habitat for Humanity. I mean, United Way. I mean, Little Red Door, golly, Neds, I can remember my mother when she was alive, sitting and knitting bonnets and hats continuously for women and men at coming into the little red door that needed them. But I mean, it's just the type of community we are, and that's why I'm so proud to be mayor of a community like this, let alone being able to live here. Just think, guys, I get to be mayor and make a positive difference.
And, you know, to be in a position to make that difference, it's got to be good.
It is. It is. And I'm very fortunate to have the family I have around me, a very loving wife that understands my time away from home, children that understand it, grandchildren. My one grandchild, Jake, just made me that when I was over at his house. Stopped by last night, and he learned that at Huffer yesterday, making these little bracelets. He asked me if I'd like him to make me one, and I said I sure would. And he said, what color? And I said, well, why don't you do purple and white so we can celebrate one Muncie? So he made that, and I'm wearing that in honor of him. But yeah, it's if there's something that I miss, probably it's the time that I don't get to spend with my family that I would like to. But boy, when I do get the time to spend it with them, it's very precious to me.
One other quick thing, and
Sure.
before we run out of time, I had a lot of people say what a great sport you were for the bucket challenge.
Man, that was cold and wet. Oh, but if you noticed, I made sure I was standing in the sunshine, buddy.
Yes.
And it was about 82 degrees. Well, you know,
Good warm day.
I had told my wife that morning when I got up, I said, you know, I've been challenged 3 times in the last 5 days. WMDH did it. I believe it was Mike Lee. Steve Lindell did it with WLBC. Then Greg Fallon did it with the Star Press. And I told her, I said, you know, if I don't deal with this, I'm never going to live it down. And it's for a great cause anyway, ALS awareness. Everybody that's got a family or member, friend, or loved one that's fighting that, they know what a horrible disease it is. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it, get it over with. Challenge my fire chief, challenge my police chief, and I challenged Nick Tokar. And I saw Nick earlier today, and he was all pumped up and excited because his kids just did it out in their driveway over the weekend.
Oh, really?
But it was fun. It was fun.
I know there was one lady in particular who put a comment on social media and thanked you for that because she had just lost a husband to ALS.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And just was very appreciative you done that. But you are a good sport.
Well,
you stood there
yeah.
and got doused down with
Might as
cold
well
water.
do it and have a little fun. And just so everybody knows, I did make a small donation
You did.
for ALS awareness, and that's what it's all about. And everybody that can do that, I'd appreciate them doing the same. It's another one of those diseases that we're battling, the same as we are with autism in this country, and it takes a lot of volunteers and it takes a lot of funding to battle those types of diseases. But again, at the end, it was fun and pretty good day to do it because it was 82 degrees and it was humid. So
it wasn't like you done it during the polar vortex.
No, I wouldn't have done it during the polar vortex. No.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Roger.
Thank you for being on the
Always
show.
glad to be here. Thank you. Take care.
And what a great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Community Focus. Community Focus would like to thank the following underwriters for their help and support with our productions. Put your business up for everyone to see. Hometown Outdoor Advertising, 288-9000. Wishbone Gifts Incorporated, corner of Walnut and Jackson Street in Muncie. Best Built Computers, 25 years experience in computer repairs. 413 South Tillotson Avenue, Suite 1. Victor's Gyros and Pancake House, 700 South Tillotson Avenue. Great barbecue, dine-in, drive-through, or carry-out. Victor's has world-class gyros, and for your dining pleasure, You can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Victor's. 288-1777. 9 Guns, buy, sell, trade, 765-646-9000. 2213 South Scatterfield Road, Anderson, Indiana. Buy, sell, and trade pistols, handguns, rifles, shotguns. www.9guns.com. In Anderson, Indiana. Crime Stoppers. Tips can pay up to $1,000. 286-4050. You don't have to give your name. McGalliard Guns and More. 800 West McGalliard, Muncie, Indiana. 765-288-GUNS. This show is produced by Millennium Productions Incorporated. Thanks for watching.